Hi, I'm Lars from All About Samsung, and today we're gonna have a really tiny test. Because here I got the new 2017 Evo Plus micro SD card series by Samsung, and we're gonna bring it to the test and see if that's the perfect SD card for the Samsung Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. One thing is for sure, the new 2017 Evo Plus portfolio is really durable. It survives 72 hours in salt water, it survives strong magnetic fields or high radiation, and it survives temperatures as cold as minus 25 degrees Celsius up to plus 85 degrees Celsius. So this card is really durable. What's more interesting for most consumers is of course the available storage for the micro SD card series, and the range goes up from 32GB over 64GB, 128GB up to 256GB. So there are 4 options in terms of storage size for the Evo Plus Portfolio 2017. And now comes the interesting part, because you can actually grab quite cheap micro SD cards with a lot of storage. The thing making those little tiny plastic cards more expensive is the speed of the storage, because you need quite a high quality storage and controller to get a high speed for the micro SD cards. And there is something else to know, because the smaller the storage size, the slower the storage. So the 32GB version of the Evo Plus micro SD card just has a maximum speed of 95 megabytes sequential read a second in terms of reading, but just 20 megabytes a second write speed. And this is quite slow. The next storage size, which has 64GB, has a way faster speed of 100 megabyte a second maximum read speed and 60 megabyte a second maximum write speed. The highest speed is found on the Samsung Evo Plus with 256 or 128GB, because here the maximum write speed is actually 90 megabytes a second and the maximum read speed is 100 megabytes a second. Before testing the micro SD cards in the Galaxy S8 or S8 Plus, I would like to test it in the PC I got here. And usually there is no micro SD card slot found on a PC, so you have to use an adapter. The Evo Plus portfolio comes with an adapter included. So if you buy a micro SD card by Samsung at the moment, you get an adapter, as there is not a normal SD card made by Samsung anymore. They just have micro SD cards equipped with an adapter, so you can decide if you want to use it as a micro SD card or as a normal SD card using the adapter included in the boxing. The problem I got over here with testing the Evo Plus portfolio is actually that when I'm using a 256GB version or any other Evo Plus SD card, I got a problem over here, because I have the 256GB version in the PC right now and I'm starting AS SSD benchmark, and you're going to see that I won't get the maximum speed, because apparently the SD card reader here is too slow for the Evo Plus series. So I got a result which is quite good of 80 megabytes a second of write speed and a bit over 80 megabytes a second, close to 90 megabytes a second of read speed, which are good speeds, but still not the maximum speed. If you check the web for results, you see that the maximum speed is quite close to what Samsung says the maximum speed is. So you have a read speed of 98 megabytes a second and a write speed of 93 megabytes a second for the 256GB version, which is quite impressive. And for the 128GB version, it's almost the same, while it's a bit slower on the 65GB version, of course. So while I can't test the maximum speed on this PC system right over here, I can test if the Evo Plus portfolio is good enough for the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus, and this is what we are going to do right now. So let's test the 3 Evo Plus I got over here, which are the 64GB, the 128GB and the 256GB version. And as you all know, it's not too hard actually to expand the storage by using a micro SD card, so you just have to open up the SIM card tray, and then we are using a 128GB version of the Evo Plus for the normal Galaxy S8 and the 256GB version for the Galaxy S8 Plus. So you just have to get it back in the device, and the 256GB version in the S8 Plus. And then, yeah, you can expand the 64GB of internal UFS 2.1 storage. Quite easy. And then you have quite a lot of storage in both devices. So now it's interesting to see the maximum speed of both SD cards in the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. And therefore, we are now using a tool called A1 SD Bench over here. And then we're just benching both SD cards. So this is the result. You have a maximum speed for reading of 50 megabytes a second and a maximum write speed of something around 37 megabytes a second. This is quite good, even though there is a big problem with this tool, because the maximum speed for the internal storage, which is UFS 2.1, isn't measured the correct way. And so I doubt that actually the speed this tool measures for the SD card is correct as well. So we are stopping right now every tool, and then we are starting the same test but with another tool, which is EnroBench 5. And with EnroBench 5 you can check the internal storage as well. So we're going first for the internal storage. We can check this by checking which partition is selected, and this is the data section. And now you can see the maximum speed of the UFS 2.1 storage. So this is now the result for the UFS 2.1 storage, and it brings up 786 and 88 megabytes a second sequential read speed and something about 200 megabytes a second sequential write speed, which is totally impressive. This comes close to what SSD delivers on a normal PC in terms of read speed, or even faster. And still 200 megabytes a second write speed is impressive fast. So now we have to check the SD card to see how big the difference is. And we are now checking the Evo Plus SD card, and when running this benchmark you see that there's a huge gap in between the speed of the internal UFS 2.1 storage and the storage found on the Evo Plus. So this is the maximum speed the SD card bus in the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus is actually capable to handle. So you can use maybe a faster SD card, but you won't get probably any faster result. Anyway, we still want to know if the 64GB version of the Evo Plus SD card series is slower than the 128 or the 256GB version. So we have to change the SD card, and we are going for the Galaxy S8 right now, and just changing the 128GB to the 64GB version and see if it's still fast enough for the Galaxy S8. So we are selecting again the SD card partition and starting the benchmark. So here comes the result, and the read speed is almost the same, and so is the write speed. If there is any difference of 1 or 2 megabyte a second sequential read or write, this is because it's just a benchmark. You have to do it like 10 or 20 times, and then yeah, you're gonna see where the maximum speed is, but you know it's in the same region. So you have a maximum sequential read speed of 62, 63 megabytes a second, and the maximum write speed of something around 38, 39 megabytes a second. And the 64GB version of the Evo Plus series is fast enough. So you have to admit that on the spec sheet, the 64GB version is slightly slower in terms of write speed as the 128 or the 256GB version, as you had 90 megabytes a second as a maximum write speed, but still it's fast enough for the Galaxy S8 because it's just not capable of doing faster write speeds. So this was our review of the Evo Plus series of 2017. Answering the question whether the Evo Plus series is the perfect microSD card series to use in the Galaxy S8 or not, I would say definitely yes, because it gives you perfect write and read speeds for the Galaxy S8. Although apparently the Galaxy S8 is not the perfect device to use with the Evo Plus series because of the limitation of the internal microSD card slot. The Galaxy S8 just can't give you the maximum speed the Evo Plus series is actually capable of. However, it just doesn't matter, it's perfectly fine to use the Evo Plus series in the Galaxy S8. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions regarding the Galaxy S8 or of course the Evo Plus series, just let me know below in the comments. Thanks for watching, I'm Lars from All About Samsung. See you next time, bye.